Jayo Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Sarasatyam Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jaya Mudiraya.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, text number 27. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, Prabhu.
Desha Kalarta Yuktani.
Desakavarta Yuktani.
Itapo Pasamani Cha.
Rittapo Pashamanija.
Paranti Smaratas Chitam.
Paranti Smaratas Chitam.
Govinda Vihitani Me.
Govinda Vihitani Me.
Desha Kalarta Yuktani.
Desakavarta Yuktani.
Itapo Pasamani Cha.
Itapo Pasamanicha.
Paranti Smaratas Chitam.
Paranti Smaratas Chitam.
Govinda Vihitani Me.
Govinda Vihitani Me.
Desha Kalarta Yuktani.
Desakavarta Yuktani.
Itapo Pasamani Cha.
Itapo Pasamanicha.
Paranti Smaratas Chitam.
Paranti Smaratas Chitam.
Govinda Vihitani Me.
Govinda Vihitani Me.
Dasakalarta Yuktani.
Desakavarta Yuktani.
Rittapo Pasamani Cha.
Ritapo Pasamanicha.
Paranti Smaratas Chittam.
Paranti Smaratas Chitam.
Govinda Vittatani Me.
Govinda Vihitani Me. Desakavarta Yuktani. Ritapo Pasamanicha. Paranti Smaratas Chitam. Govinda Vihitani Me. Desakalartha Yuktani.
Desha Kalarta Yuktani.
Ritapopasamani cha.
Itapo Pasamani Cha.
Haranti smaratas chittam.
Paranti Smaratas Chitam.
Govinda Vihitani Me.
Govinda Vihitani Me. Ladies.
Deshakalata Yuktani.
Desakalartha Yuktani. Ritapopasamani cha. Haranti smaratas chittam. Govinda Vihitani Me.
Desakalarta Yuktani. Ritapopasamani Cha. Paranti Smaratas Chitam.
Govinda Vihitani Me. Desakalartha Yuktani. Ritapopasamani cha. Paranti smaratas
Chitam.
Govinda Vihitani Me.
Deshakalata Yuktani.
Desakalartha Yuktani.
Rittapo Pashamani cha.
Ritapopasamani cha.
Haranti Smaratas Chittam.
Haranti smaratas chittam.
Govinda Govinda Vihitani Me.
Govinda Vihitani Me.
Anyone else? Desha, space. Kala, what's that mean? Time. Artha, importance. Yuktani, impregnated with. Harit,
Rit.
grit. H-R-T, grit. What's it mean?
Heart.
Heart. Did you know Sanskrit before you became Hare Krishna? No. Tapa, burning. Upashamani, extinguishing. Cha, and. Haranti, or attracting. Smartata, you know that one, right?
Remembrance.
Remembering. Chitam,
Chittam.
mind.
Mind.
Here's a tough one. Govinda,
Govinda.
the Supreme Personality of Pleasure. Who do you worship? I worship God of pleasure. Abhihitani,
Vihitani.
narrated by. May, unto me. Translation, please repeat. Now I am attracted.
Now I am attracted
To those instructions.
to those instructions
Imparted to me by the personality of Godhead.
imparted to me by the personality of Godhead.
Govinda.
Govinda.
Because they are impregnated with instructions. For relieving the burning heart.
For relieving the burning heart.
In all circumstances of time and space.
In all circumstances of time and space.
Doesn't leave a lot of options there. No place you can get away from being relieved, because in all circumstances, time and space. So I'll repeat it one time. Now I am attracted to those instructions imparted to me by the personality of Godhead, Govinda, because they are impregnated with instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of time and space. I'm going to read one more time. Now I am attracted to those instructions imparted to me by the personality of Godhead, Govinda, because they are impregnated with instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of time and space. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhu. It's a long purport. It's a very important verse. I hit the lottery when I got this day. Purport. Herein Arjuna refers to the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, which was imparted to him by the Lord on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The Lord left behind him the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, not for the benefit of Arjuna alone, but also for all time and in all lands. The Bhagavad Gita, being spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the essence of all Vedic wisdom. It is nicely presented by the Lord Himself for all who have very little time to go through the vast Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, the Puranas, and the Vedanta Sutras. It is put within the study of the great historical epic Mahabharata, which was especially prepared for the less intelligent class, namely the women, the laborers, and those who are worthless descendants of the Brahmins. We're not even a worthless descendant of the Brahmin. Kshatriyas and higher sections of the Vaishyas. I just wonder how somebody doesn't know anything about Krishna when they read that. Those who are worthless. Whoever speaks like that, only Srila Prabhupada, uses this terminology. The problem which arose in the heart of Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra was solved by the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Again, after the departure of the Lord, from the vision of the earthly people when Arjuna was face to face with being vanquished in his acquired power and prominence, he wanted again to remember the great teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, just to teach all concerned that the Bhagavad Gita can be consulted in all critical times, not only for souls from all kinds of mental agonies, but also for the way out of great entanglements, which may embarrass one in some critical hour. We can stop right there and discuss that for the rest of our lives, you know. The merciful Lord left behind him the great teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, so that one can take the instructions of the Lord even when he is not visible to material eyesight. Material senses cannot have any estimation of the Supreme Lord, but by his inconceivable power, the Lord can incarnate himself to the sense perception of the conditioned soul in a suitable manner through the agency of matter, which is also another form of the Lord's manifested energy. Thus, the Bhagavad Gita, or any authentic scriptural sound representation of the Lord, is also an incarnation of the Lord. There is no difference between the sound representation of the Lord and the Lord himself. One can derive the same benefit from the Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna did in the personal presence of the Lord. The faithful human being who is desirous of being liberated from the clutches of material existence can very easily take advantage of the Bhagavad Gita. And with this in view, the Lord instructed Arjuna as if Arjuna were in need of it. In the Bhagavad Gita, 5 important factors of knowledge have been delineated pertaining to 1. The Supreme Lord. 2. The living being. 3. Nature. 4. Time and space. And 5. The process of activity. Out of these, the Supreme Lord and the living being are qualitatively one. The difference between the two has been analyzed as the difference between the whole and the part and parcel. Nature is inert matter displaying the interaction of 3 different modes. And eternal time and unlimited space are considered to be beyond the existence of material nature. Are y'all following this? This isn't really deep. Prabhupada brought it down, way down to our level. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta talk to you would be like, just spellbound with his linguistic. Activities of the living being are different varieties of aptitudes which can entrap or liberate the living being within and without material nature. I'm going to read that sentence again. Activities of the living being are different varieties of aptitudes which can entrap or liberate the living being within and without material nature. All these subject matters are concisely discussed in the Bhagavad Gita. And later, the subject matters... This thing quit working.
No, it's working.
It's too loud.
Ah.
Yeah. Good.
Just tell me, I'll be quieter. Sorry. All these subject matters are concisely discussed in the Bhagavad Gita. And later, the subject matters are elaborated in the Srimad Bhagavatam for further enlightenment. Out of the 5 subjects, the Supreme Lord, the living entity, nature, and time and space are eternal. But the living entity, nature, and time are under the direction of the Supreme Lord, who is absolute and completely independent of any other control. The Supreme Lord is the supreme control. The material activity of the living being is beginningless, but it can be rectified by transferal into spiritual quality. Thus, it can cease its material qualitative reactions. Both the Lord and the living entity are cognizant. And both have the sense of identification, of being conscious as living force. But the living being under the condition of material nature, called Mahatattva, misidentifies himself as being different from the Lord. The whole scheme of Vedic wisdom is targeted to the aim of eradicating such a misconception and thus liberating the living being from the illusion of material identification. When such an illusion is eradicated by knowledge and renunciation, the living beings are responsible actors and enjoyers also. Big point. The sense of enjoyment in the Lord is real, but such a sense in the living entity is a sort of wishful desire only. This difference in consciousness is the distinction of the two identities, namely the Lord and the living being. Otherwise, there is no difference between the Lord and the living being. The living being is therefore eternally one and different simultaneously. The whole instruction of the Bhagavad Gita stands on this principle. I'll read it again. The living being is therefore eternally one and different simultaneously. The whole instruction of the Bhagavad Gita stands on this principle. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord and the living beings are both described as Sanatan, or eternal. And the Lord's abode far beyond the material sky is also described as Sanatan. The living being is invited to live in the Sanatan existence of the Lord. And the process which can help the living being to approach the Lord's abode, where the liberated activity of the soul is exhibited, is called Sanatan Dharma. One cannot, however, reach the eternal abode of the Lord without being free from the misconception of material identification. And the Bhagavad Gita gives us the clue how to achieve this stage of perfection. The process of being liberated from the misconception of material identification is called in different stages: fruitive activity, empiric philosophy, and devotional service, up to transcendental realization. Such transcendental realization is made possible by dovetailing all the above items in relation with the Lord. Prescribed duties of the human being, as directed in the Vedas, can gradually purify the sinful mind of the conditioned soul and raise him to the stage of knowledge. The purified stage of acquiring knowledge becomes the basis of devotional service to the Lord. As long as one is engaged in researching the solution of the problems of life, his knowledge is called jnana, or purified knowledge. But on realizing the actual solution of life, one becomes situated in devotional service of the Lord. The Bhagavad Gita begins with the problems of life by discriminating the soul from the elements of matter, and proves by all reason and argument that the soul is indestructible in all circumstances, and that the outer covering of Maya, the body and the mind, change for another term of material existence which is full of miseries. The Bhagavad Gita is therefore meant for terminating all different types of miseries. And Arjuna took shelter of this great knowledge, which had been imparted to him during the Kurukshetra battle. Om Tat Sat. I feel like I just delivered a speech to the highest level of parliament in the universe. It's like reading the Declaration of Independence or something. You know, it's that profound. I mean, this could be studied and memorized and given great lectures on this. It's an incredible purport. It's like a marriage of Srimad Bhagavatam with Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada, Bhagavad Gita personified, entered into the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam and gave us synopsis of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he also pointed out the very literature with which he's giving translation in, he's also pointing out that this literature that you're reading this translation in is a much deeper study of the book that we're referencing that Arjuna was recalling at that time. So it's like he's giving full continuity between Arjuna's plight outside of this literature, bringing the Bhagavad Gita into this literature as a solution with a little synopsis of it, but put all together in a nutshell. If we could somehow consolidate and imbibe this knowledge, we would be liberated. Free. Just by knowing this. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. We say it, but we really mean it. Prabhupada has opened our eyes. Simple hog farmer from Mississippi, sitting here quoting the most erudite all literature about the supreme absolute truth.
Haribo!
What more proof do you need? This is Lord Chaitanya's movement, as that one devotee sang in the song, Mangalananda, Govina's always quoting the song, like, we're dancing in the street, telling everyone we meet, we're going home. You know, there's another one, Vishnu Jan used to sing, you know you're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Your body's just a hunk of flesh and it's destined to grow old. He's on his record, we used to sell it, so we sing these songs all the time, you know. And it's an incredible, this philosophy is so sweet, so succinct, but here's the kicker. This is the absolute truth. I challenge anyone to show me any truth that's even slightly comparable. I mean, even slightly comparable that makes me think, that's interesting. There's nothing. Just like when Bhakti Bhagavad Maharaj was here and he was talking, I asked him, I was trying to pull out that he would never tell you really much about himself. He was very shy about that. So I asked him how he came a little bit, And he said, well, the truth is, I knew about Bhagavad Gita. I was reading Bhagavad Gita before he met the devotee. He was a scholar. He said, but when I found out about Srimad Bhagavatam, that hooked me. He said, because if one reads this, like there's one devotee, I never remember his name. He was such a wonderful devotee. He was from South Africa, Indian body. And he was a genius, literally. Not just saying genius. We're talking about one of those people that all the companies in the world, all of them.
Nanda Kumar.
Yeah, Nanda Kumar. They approached him and they said, we'll put you in any school you want if you'll just work with us. So he had scholarships from everywhere. So he had an agent. An agent to figure out what course he should take. So he asked his agent, he said, what should I take? I want to know what makes the most money. What is that occupation that makes the most money? That's where he was at that time. And the agent said, well, if you are able to prognosticate trends before they come, there's a whole school where you learn how to portend what's coming, and then you can get ahead of the curve. So he said, okay, I'll do that. So he goes to school, and he's in college. And he's been there some time, but he's just doing what he's got to do to get by. And he looks out in the courtyard at the school, and there's a devotee out there with a table. And I was talking, and he said, I went out to the table, and he had a book. It was called Easy Journey to Other Planets. He said, so I got that book. He said, I went to my room, and this guy, keep in mind now, this is the sharpest of the sharp. Their minds work different than our minds, some of them. They got, they go places with their thought. He said, I read it that night, The next day I became a Hare Krishna.
Wow.
He said, I moved in the temple the next day.
Haribo!
From reading Easy Journey to Other Planets. The reason I bring that up is that if we can actually understand what Prabhupada just said here, this is everything. You don't need anything else. This purport alone can take you back home, back to Godhead. Out of the cycle of birth and death. We're only doing it because we're ignorant. It's not more pleasure. We already know who's the reservoir of pleasure, said right in the verse. The Lord of pleasure. Like Mother Hardwani told the story of her family when they were up in Minnesota, and they were visiting relatives, and PC had never left, the temple. He didn't know anything about the world, right? So he goes up there and she's introducing to her relatives, and they come along and they're saying there's a statue there. They say, yeah, this is Lord Jesus. And so PC comes over to him and she looks and says, why do you have a Lord of the Cheeses? And of course the relatives freaked out. You don't know who Jesus is. I forget where I was going with that, but the Lord of pleasure. So Govinda
The best cheeses are there in Krishna.
Yeah, Jesus is the Lord of pleasure. So the Lord of pleasure. So we're worshiping Krishna, and we're only ignorant because we know, if we actually know Krishna, He's the reservoir of all pleasure. So we won't be missing something. See, you think like that sometimes, oh my God, if I give up the sense gratification and become really spiritual, I'm going to have to give up something. Right? That's what we think. And deep down in there somewhere, you think, I'm going to lose something, right? Whatever attachment may be. There's a million, we all got it. So we're thinking. So I used to feel like, I don't want to go to Vaikuntha because, you're stuck there. Like here, you're going to go up and down, you get all these challenges and all that. And Vaikuntha, you just kind of like, walk around. And then, so I'm reading Srimad Bhagavatam about Vaikuntha. And the first thing Prabhupada said is, you can travel anywhere from Vaikuntha. You can even come to the material world. He said, it's a little more limited here. You're a little more limited when you come to the material world. But you can not only go to the material world, you can go all the spiritual planets. You can go anywhere. In your eternal self-same body. Right? So my mind, in ignorance, was thinking, I'm limited. In actuality, it's like Prabhupada gives the example of the person who's in the hospital with his legs all broken, and you know how they do with the suspension and all, and the guy comes in and sees him, and he's like jumping up and down and dancing, and the guy with broken legs said, that must hurt. Doesn't that hurt when you jump up and down? Because his legs are broken, he's relating to it like that. Because we're ignorant. Don't y'all like that word? That's a Mississippi word, ignorant. You just drop the A into it. Ignorant. Ignorant. So, ignorant means that we don't know who the Supreme Master of Truth is. We're ignorant of God. We're ignorant of our life in the spiritual world. We're ignorant of our relationship on our daily basis with Krishna. We're ignorant. We just don't know. Like there's one book we were reading about, and it tells, like I'll call it, a day in the life of Krishna. And my wife and I read it, and I was ready to go back home back to Godhead at the end of the book. It was unbelievably sweet. But it was just simply what they do in Goloka Vrindavan every day, what Krishna does. I mean, I can't recall it. It was just too difficult for me to remember anything these days. But it was very detailed information about what, Mother Rohini cooks every day, and super detailed information about the cowherd boys going to the field and the cows and the ecstasy and what they felt. And they basically do the same thing every day. But they love it. They love it. They never get tired of it. They want it more and more. It's ever fresh. You heard that word Prabhupada used? Ever fresh. Because it's so sweet. It's like, it's not like you have to kind of like, here we're like, oh my God, I got to get up, I got to do this. Because we have a material body and a material mind and material senses. In the spiritual world, we don't have that. We have an eternal blissful body. So we don't really have to even sleep. It's a leela. Sleeping is like a leela. But what the big leela is cooking for Krishna. Or dressing Krishna. Or wrestling with Krishna. We don't have a clue what it's like to have Krishna come at you, right? And with a beautiful smile, lotus eyes, and grab you and throw you down to the ground. I mean, there you are, the supreme absolute truth. And you're a little tiny spirit soul, and you're in ecstasy. Krishna's embracing you, you're trying to wrestle, and sometimes he might even let you win. And then you wrestle and you're tired, so what do? You sit down and they have a bunch of nice sweetmeats all prepared, lovingly, thousands of them. Thousands of sweets. And you have it, and then what do? Take a little nap. Maybe you let Krishna lay his, like Talavana does, lay his head on your leg. Rough, huh?
What?
So restrictive. So, oh God, so religious. No, Govinda. Govinda, the Lord of pleasure, means, well, the pleasure is so unbelievable. We can't comprehend it. You cannot comprehend it. If we did, we would be like, a madman. We would be a madman, like Lord Chaitanya demonstrated, huh? That's why Lord Chaitanya was a madman. Why? Because he was tasting that pleasure. He couldn't get enough of it. He was chasing. He'd see a mountain, a sand dune, and think it was Govardhan, and he would run, They would lock him in the room. Because they were afraid that he would hurt himself. Still he got out. They had no windows. Still he got out. And they would come and they would try to find him. They would run and run, and he was running. He would see something that he would be like, thought he was in Vrindavan. He didn't know where it was at. And he's chasing it, and he's saying, "Where's Radha? Where's Radha?" He's in ecstasy. And everyone's just trying to catch him, Just hold him, just so he don't hurt himself. So one day they couldn't find him. They're looking everywhere for him. They couldn't find him. And then they see this man laying on the beach. And the man going, jump, 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 jump. And they said, jump. And they thought, oh man, he's inhabited by a ghost or something. So Damodar pops him upside his head. Said, I'm an exorcist. Popped him upside the head. And the man said, I was fishing and I touched a big golden fish, even though I chanted the Shinga mantra. Still, it entered me when I touched it, and I just, and he couldn't use an ecstasy because he touched the body of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He just touched the body of the Lord, and he went into ecstasy. When's the last time you went into ecstasy, Astika?
Never.
Yeah. We don't know nothing about ecstasy. But here it is, right in the pages of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This man touched the Lord. So, this is what this liberation is all about. The Sanatan, I was thinking like the Sanatan Dharmas out there. I wonder if Maya Dharmas is what we are now. We're serving Maya. So our Sanatan Dharma is our eternal activity. So Maya Dharma must mean just foolishness we're doing right now.
Maya Dharma is like an oxymoron.
Huh?
Maya Dharma is an oxymoron. That's two things don't go good.
I mean, your occupation. So, by Krishna's grace, I don't know what oxymoron means. I mean, I don't know if I'm offended or not. No, not joking.
It has something to do with being a moron.
I know.
Well, like dry water, like the two concepts, they just don't mix dry water.
So, since we're in a jolly mood, I read this verse while I was sitting on the couch. And I said, this is the most incredible verse that I wrote a poem.
Wow.
Don't laugh. This is my heart, you guys. So be gentle with me. I wrote poems before, and people laugh at you, and you're kind of like, wasn't a comedy. But you know how you get when you hear poems. By nature, a little funny. So. Anyway, it was about the Bhagavad Gita and Srila Prabhupada, and this verse is kind of like what inspired it. So it's a short poem. The messenger and the message, one and the same. He delivers your message and your holy name. Your message is eternal, sweet and sublime. The nectar of the soul, the nature of the soul and eternal time. I'll read that part again. Your message is eternal, sweet and sublime. The nature of the soul and eternal time. O Keshava, your conch purifies the universe. Its transcendental sound becomes chapter and verse. And as that sacred sound enters this realm, your divine captain mans the helm. He embodies your sweetness in every way, and your cowherd friend loves to play. From your vision, it is but a dream, but real to us, or so it does seem. Gradually we become mesmerized by your word and follow the path of your beloved cowherd. We are fallen, so it may take a while, but our hearts are stolen by His divine smile. If somehow at His lotus feet we stay, we will be happy. We will be able to wrestle with you one day. For He embodies your song, sweet and divine, and without doubt He has captured our minds. So I just thought, how Srila Prabhupada, when I read this, it really came to me clearly how Srila Prabhupada is an incarnation of Bhagavad Gita. In that everything, he lives the Bhagavad Gita. He is the Bhagavad Gita's manifestation. And how Krishna created Srila Prabhupada's form. And Prabhupada's form is not from the spiritual world. It's from this realm, this form that he had while he was here. But that form was created by Krishna to embody His message. It was created by Krishna for the purpose of bringing us, of getting us to love Him. You understand? It's created to mystically attract us to Him. Anyone who saw Srila Prabhupada, you have to admit, you couldn't help but love him. Right? It was just, he just was so kind, so beautiful, so all attractive. So as I thought about this and I read, I thought, oh, I understand. Krishna created Srila Prabhupada to deliver all of this because he had to be attractive. It's coming in a very attractive way. The Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Puranas, all are coming in a very wonderful spiritual way. And he packaged it perfectly. And then he said, okay, just go. And people will love you so much. And just tell them to chant my name. And we will liberate the universe. Everyone will get to go back home, back to Godhead. So I thought about that, and it's so obvious to me that we can't comprehend the attractiveness of Srila Prabhupada. It is definitely symbolic of Krishna's attraction. So when you hear about Krishna, you hear the gopis. They say, like the other day we were hearing about, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Yogendra was reading about Lord Chaitanya talking about Krishna's face and how the moons, the different moons on his face and how attractive it is. And he just can't quit talking about Krishna's attractiveness and the mood of the gopis and Krishna's face. So Krishna's all attractiveness. We can't see Krishna. We see the deities and we're like, we're attracted. We are. Aren't we?
Yes.
We're attracted to Sri Sri Radha. I mean, I have to admit, I'm as dull and stupid as a human being can possibly be and still be here. And, you know, I look at Shri Radharani sometimes when the devotees dress them, and I think, oh my goodness, what it must be like to dress Krishna. I said it to somebody, what it must be like to dress Krishna, you know. And Krishna's there, and Krishna's allowing us to do that because it's how we can see Krishna. But for so long, you know, our minds were too polluted, our heads are too cluttered. All we could see was Srila Prabhupada. Huh? So why do you see these old, worn out vagabonds such as myself coming here? Why? We can't forget Srila Prabhupada. We can't forget his smile. I love Srila Prabhupada as much as I love any person I've ever met in my existence. More so. I mean, I can say I don't love Krishna. I don't love most people. I'm hard-hearted. I'm cold. I'm ignorant. But when I think of Srila Prabhupada, I feel like I love Srila Prabhupada. Now that's, I mean, you know, for someone who you never really spent much time with, you just heard about and you know, had a little association with, he had the ability to make us love him. Huh? And once you love him, then what happens? You begin to love Krishna. By loving Srila Prabhupada, eventually we have the same love for Krishna. That's what happens. It's exactly what happens. When you love your spiritual master, you actually see his transcendental vision and smile and compassion, and you're attracted, you're mesmerized by him, and you're thinking, I love him so much, I want to serve him with my life, I want to give him, I want to be with him eternally, forever. Then what's he do? He gives you Krishna. And then you feel even more so about Krishna. It's simple philosophy. But I promise you 100%, I don't know much, but I know this to be true. That Srila Prabhupada come directly from Krishna, and Krishna created him in such a way that no one could escape him. If you came under Prabhupada's aura, you fell in love with Srila Prabhupada. I mean, I was never, ever anything remotely created like a groupie. Rock concerts, I was not into it. I'm not standing there watching some idiot sing, right? But I remember ecstasy just to put my fingers under Prabhupada's palate, just to feel like I'm part of carrying Prabhupada. So this is real. This thread of divine love is real, incarnated in the form of Srila Prabhupada. We have to embrace it. If we embrace it, we allow ourselves to embrace it without thinking this is whatever. When we see the form of Srila Prabhupada is here in his murti form. And he can enter into our heart. And he can give us an attraction that when Maya tries to drag us away, it says, glorious is that Guru, that spiritual master that drags his disciple back by his hair. Srila Prabhupada dragged us back by our hair. That's how we had no attraction to Krishna, no attraction to God. We were just simple fools, hippies, whatever. And then Prabhupada came. So these people wonder, why did you become Hare Krishna? Because I saw Srila Prabhupada. If you saw Srila Prabhupada, you'd be Hare Krishna. You missed it. If you don't get the mercy of Prabhupada, it's unfortunate. You have to take the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Now we know he was here such a short time. But he said, even while we were here, sometimes devotees write and say, Prabhupada, I love you so much, I miss you so much. I have to see you. Prabhupada said, if you love me, I'm in your heart. He said, if you love someone, they're in their picture. I know, I've had times where Prabhupada's picture was there and I saw it. Prabhupada came to me. He entered my heart. He inspired me. Why? I have no idea. No earthly idea. I had zero qualification. Sometimes people say, oh, you had some piety or some devotion. In my case, it is absolutely not even plausible to the negative 50th degree. It's implausible that there were any qualifications. This is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. His mercy is greater than any mercy we've ever even thought about experiencing. He is, when they say the ocean of mercy, it is not an exaggeration. Why? Because he can take anyone back to the spiritual sky. Anyone. Regardless. It doesn't matter. When you read these things and you say worthless, worthless son of a Brahmin, and we think, oh, worthless, that's an insult. We're not even qualified to even be considered a human being, basically. And Prabhupada came and delivered us. So this mercy, I don't know if it's ever happened before or if it'll ever happen again. I don't know. I can't imagine. And you cannot express. But we know that it comes from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when we're seeing Srila Prabhupada and we're experiencing this love and this ecstasy and this attachment and this desire to be a devotee and hanging on to his lotus feet, and he's telling us, just chant Hare Krishna. If you chant Hare Krishna, you will gradually become purified. You will develop an attraction for Krishna. You can go back home, back to God. In this lifetime, he said. He looked me directly in my eyes and said, you can go back home, back to God in this lifetime. I'm not flattering you, he said. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So we're hearing this, and we're sitting here on this day. How monumental. We see this verse, this purport in this verse like that. It just put me in this mood of monumental realization. I mean, we can't. I don't know how we can hold back anymore. We have to go forward. We have to be feeling the urgency of glorifying Srila Prabhupada, especially here. We came here. Whatever we can do, whatever life we have left, whatever money, whatever time we have, we should dedicate it to glorifying Srila Prabhupada here, especially us disciples. We should find a way, Steamy, now we're going to develop this guest house so we can bring people. We're getting close, believe it or not. It's like these miraculous things are happening, right? Mangalartik's drawing this incredibly well detailed, nicely done. Before we just did it haphazard because I was begging like a beggar. Because it costs $1,000 to have a plan done. It's so much per foot, like $1,000 with 1,200 square foot. So I talked to Tarka about it, and Tarka was, kept blowing me off how people do it. I'm going to get it. So finally I told him, and I said, Tarka, I can't wait any longer. I'm going to go have to pay somebody to do it. Maharani's going to give up on me, And she said, no, I'll do it. So she did it one day, right? So she brings it together. Very nicely done. I appreciate it so much. But she's busy, all this time. And for us, we're beggars. And so, but I didn't know enough to tell her the details, and it was the first time she'd ever done it. She just graduated, but she did an excellent, wonderful thing. So I was able to take that, and we went down to the man. Jogendra Prabhu took it down to the man down there, and they said, you have to have more drawings and more wire and more pipe and all this stuff, So Jogendra brings it back, and you have to have the foundation. And so I thought of Mangalartik. I thought, well, he can draw in the wiring and stuff. So I sent it to him, and then he's got all his program and software. He said, oh, no, we'll do this right. We'll do this first class. We're going to make it first class. So he's spending so much time. It's just getting refined. You see how Krishna's working. And then Jogendra, was talking about, because we're going to pour concrete, Mangalartik's a little bit, well, I've never done that. It's new to me, And he's saying, I want to come and help y'all do it. And then this devotee, I guess his name Hubby or something. I don't know if he's a devotee.
Huggy.
Huggy. Hug, like hugs.
Huggy. I thought it was a transcendental Huggy, you know. Huggy. Yeah, Huggy, he's a concrete man. He building on the concrete. So he met doing it outside. Lord Chaitanya, Krishna is sending these people. Why? Because, you know, Krishna's here. When Maharani stands in front of Krishna and Radharani every day and begs Krishna for a guest house, he keeps begging him. She's a beggar. She's saying, Radharani, I gotta have this guest. Why? She can go live anywhere she wants. She wants to build a guest house for Krishna. Just like when Sanatan wanted a temple. He had no money. Some man comes on his salt barge and gets stuck right in Vrindavan. So they come to Sanatan and say, we're stuck. Sanatan, if you let us go, we'll build you a temple. Sanatan just a yogi sitting there on the hill, just a poor devotee, he has nothing. But they're stuck. So Sanatan prays to the Lord. The salt vessel is gone and the man builds a big temple. It's Krishna. Krishna can do anything. Krishna can build us a huge temple if we want it. That's what he's trying to get us. He's refining our desire. He's making us get to the point where we're saying, okay, anything, I'll do anything. Please, let me build this, guest house, this memorial for Srila Prabhupada. Let it come into fruition. It's not a selfish thing. It's all for Krishna. If we have that hunger, that thirst, we give up our little petty, they're there. They drive you crazy. Attachments, desires, habits. If we can somehow or another just dovetail our propensities and come together and unify with the understanding that Krishna can do this, Prabhupada wants it to happen, Talavana has to come to the point where when people come, they're like, wow, such a beautiful Dham. So much glorification of Srila Prabhupada. I often think when I'm doing the Chamara, when Prabhupada was here, one devotee was doing the Chamara, and the flies were still there. The flies were coming. Prabhupada said, so you can come a little closer even if you touch. He wasn't mean to the boy, but the boy was real shy. Jagat. So Bhadra Narayan grabs the Chamara and comes up. He's not shy. All the flies are gone. And Prabhupada said, even if it touches, no harm. That was here. So we can have a nice memorial with a Chamara ceremony. Huh? It's glorification of Srila Prabhupada. And his was here. What happened when he was here? There was an incident. Like when the Lord was there. There was an incident and the Lord did this. When Prabhupada was here, there was an incident and he did this. The Chamara wasn't close enough. We got a festival to commemorate Prabhupada. That's pure devotion. And then he was here, he cooked. He was sitting in his room. It was raining. Just one of those morning rains you never get here. Beautiful summer day, August, July. About this time of the year. Really close to right now.
July 31st, August 1st.
Yeah, very soon. And Prabhupada's sitting there and it's raining and everyone's in his office and it's kind of muggy. And Prabhupada said, let's cook. His disciples, he said he never does that. He said, let's cook. And he goes in the kitchen. I asked his servant what happened. Prabhupada came in. He said, Urdal. Does his hand like this, pointing to the cabinet. Urdal. Meaning, get the stuff ready. We didn't have much stuff. The garden was pitiful. We didn't have a garden. Worse than Papa's garden. So, we had, I think we had some green tomatoes or something maybe. Eggplant, some bitter melon. Because bitter melon, wherever Srila Prabhupada would go, he always had to have bitter melon. Everywhere he went, he wanted for his liver, so he had to have chlorella. And so we had bitter melon. But he cooked it in his tiered cooker. You saw the picture, the famous picture all over the world. That picture's famous. And so Prabhupada's cooking. It was like 30 minutes for you cooks. Let me tell you, in 30 minutes, he had a full 5-course meal with chapatis. Right? And I was fortunate enough, maybe that's why I'm such a madman for Srila Prabhupada, is I ate some of that rice that Prabhupada cooked.
Haribo.
And it melted in my mouth like, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm not exaggerating. You know, sometimes I might get carried away. I promise you, I'm being honest. If God is my witness, it's like unlike anything I just put in my mouth, it just melted in my mouth. It was not like, I'd never had any rice like that ever. So we can commemorate. I always say we should have a festival like we have the Cow Fest as first class. We could commemorate, we can have a Cooking for Prabhupada festival. I mean, if you're a Prabhupada disciple and, you know, you like to enjoy spiritual life, but, you know, you just go and it's just Harinam or whatever, it's fun and all that. But when you have a special kind of theme, cooking for Srila Prabhupada, that's going to catch your head a little bit. Cooking for Prabhupada, that should be interesting. Wonder what they're going to cook. And you cook. You come cook what you like to cook for Prabhupada. And we get them. They will come. I'm telling you, they will be attracted not by anything we can offer them, but because they come and they'll get the mood of cooking for Prabhupada. It's the love that brings them. It's not the money we offer or something. It's an attraction to Prabhupada that brings them. So if we have a beautiful ceremony, cooking for Prabhupada, and then we auction it off, like they do to Panihati. That theme will capture the mind of exalted devotees, and then exalted devotees come, guess who follows? People who are wanting to become exalted devotees. So we can fill up. We build a guest house. We have a place to put these people. We have these places. It may take a little time, but if we had that as our plan, and we develop that over a period of time, keeping with going that direction, doing whatever we can, one step at a time, being patient, tolerant, respectful, loving, serving, and we will eventually, we could get to the point where, can you imagine how sweet it would be to have a huge place where we could have a festival for Srila Prabhupada, cooking for Srila Prabhupada? How many kirtans? We would leave our bodies in kirtan. Kirtan is unlimited. You can go into kirtan. Lord Chaitanya used to leave. You can leave in kirtan. You can be in the spiritual world of kirtan. So you have to develop that mood. We have to develop that mood. If we have a nice, so my concept is we build a nice place to have an incredible kirtan. We're here at anything, whatever Krishna offers, but I'm saying, if we give a memorial to Prabhupada and have those festivals, your Talavana would become a Mecca. Literally a Mecca for all those people who love Srila Prabhupada. And believe me, they love Prabhupada way more than I do. They just don't, they're not so sentimental. They're higher qualities. They have more, they're more social skills. For me, it's like, I'm all Prabhupada made me. That's
What?
He made me. You know, people look at the herb thing and they think, oh, Dvibhuja. I am nothing. Prabhupada made me everything. And I know I've sounded, I know, so be humble, you know, all that. It's actually a fact. I don't know why. I don't know why. All I can say is why he did. And so, Prabhupada loves us all in different ways. You have great devotees who are so educated, so intelligent. They're so like the devotees we talked about, became attracted to, I forget his name already, but we were talking about the Indian devotee from
Nanda Kumar.
Nanda Kumar, Prabhu. Nanda Kumar. You know, just by he's so intelligent. So, anyway, I know I'm probably going long. I see my Lakshmi standing up, so that's my signal. Any questions or comments, please?
Mother Krishna has a
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Daniel.
When you're talking about Prabhupada and God received it, what came to my mind was one of the Yasta's comments, and the point was that Malki was saying that Krishna was on Prabhupada's shoulder the whole time, sitting on his shoulder to help him with all the wonderful purpose that were.
Exactly.
And the other thing was about consciousness of Prabhupada. My husband was on the other day, and they have these devotees, like the other day was Brahma Tirtha, different devotees were giving Sarya, the different devotees, the Prabhupada disciples, how you hear that, and it's like, gives you so much wonderful latch into it. You get, and it's a nice thing to hear about Prabhupada and how the boys are in love. You can see how much like you're saying. How they develop such a loving mood for Prabhupada.
Yes, and He's eternal. And we can all continue to develop that relationship. It doesn't have to be physical. It's not physical. Most of the mercy I got was in serving in separation. I did. I got some real mercy serving in separation. Srimad book. Prabhupada poured it on. When you heard about Prabhupada like book, just believe me, he did. He gave it to you. He poured it on you. There were times when, I just can't believe how much mercy we got. So, serving is the key. If you serve Srila Prabhupada with eagerness, He will come to you and in your heart. He will be there. It's not physical. It doesn't have time and space. It's eternal. And like he said, there's an ISKCON in the spiritual sky. We can also go to that place and be with Srila Prabhupada in the spiritual sky.
Prabhu,
Yes.
you were so enlivened by this verse, but I've forgotten the verse. If you please read it.
The verse. I guess that's a good thing. Now I am attracted to those instructions imparted to me by the personality of Godhead, Govinda, because they are impregnated with instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of time and space. Yes, Prabhu.
Manaji was talking about Prabhupada having Krishna on his shoulders. I'm not sure, but what I seem to remember is that he was cooking two crepes. He used the same spoon to go from one crepe to the other, which normally isn't done. And someone commented on that. I'm not sure if it's true. Someone commented on it, and he said, Krishna's sitting on my shoulder, and he licks the spoon.
Yeah, there's so many pastimes. Yes, Prabhu.
It's just a coincidence that my wife was listening to the Prabhupada memories, and his name is escaping me right now. He used to be in the Atlanta Temple. At one point, when Sadhguru Maharaj was compiling for the Lamrita, he was given a little budget to travel around. This was something like that. Anyway, they'll come to me when I leave. So he was traveling around India, talking to people that. So he met Prabhupada's first disciple, Jansi. And this man was a Sanskrit scholar and had many other degrees. And he said he was very cultured. So he said, I had complete implicit faith that what he told me was the truth. I think many of you probably have heard this story. But it was in 1954. And he says that Prabhupada had a dream, and he saw this individual in Jhansi, and he came there to preach to him. That Krishna dictated this to him. And so then it was John Masami in 1954, and so the disciple, Acharya Bhavan or something like that, he had gone to Delhi. And when he came back, Prabhupada had been actually, at that time, sometimes he would just do bhajans for like 3 days straight with no fasting, no food. Just do bhajans constantly, just chant. And we've always known about how we would go, we were fasting and translating, but this was, at that point, he was doing bhajans. And on that particular day, John Masami, he got back about 1 o'clock in the morning. And when he entered the temple room, Prabhupada was bouncing up and down in the temple room. And he had this very long garland. And the flowers were kadamba, which are actually rare for that part of India. And if they are there, they're like maybe the size of a golf ball. But these kadamba flowers were like the size of a tennis ball. So this was unusual. And he said not only that, he used a term, a Sanskrit term, that meant that this was a non-material, the aroma was like a non-material atmosphere. It was something unique. And so he was very curious about what had happened. He knew that Prabhupada had been fasting and chanting as he was doing regularly for all day at least, John Muslim day. And so the next day he got the opportunity to ask Prabhupada, well, you know, what was happening? Where did that garland come from? He said, I was chanting, all of a sudden Krishna was there. And he gave me this garland, and I reached out to touch his feet, and it disappeared. And so, you know, when he had just come, that's when Prabhupada was so ecstatic, he was dancing up and down like that.
Charged from